Hello, I'm Tom. At 67, my daughter-in-law banned me from her bakery, but now her customers are lining up for mine. The betrayal runs deep. She thought she could kick me to the curb and keep my legacy buried. But here's the kicker. I'm not just fighting for my business anymore. I'm fighting for my dignity, my pride, and my future. The lies, the manipulation, the years of being. Hello, I'm Tom. At 67, my daughter-in-law banned me from her bakery, but now her customers are lining up for mine. The betrayal runs deep. She thought she could kick me to the curb and keep my legacy buried. But here's the kicker. I'm not just fighting for my business anymore. I'm fighting for my dignity, my pride, and my future. The lies, the manipulation, the years of being. I remember the day like it was yesterday, the day the life I had built slowly crumbled before me. At 67 years old, I thought I'd seen it all. A lifetime of work, sacrifice, and dedication, yet nothing prepares you for being cast aside by the very people you gave everything to. My name is Tom, and I spent my years raising my children, working tirelessly, and doing what I thought was best for the family. I didn't expect to be treated like this. The hardest pill to swallow wasn't that they didn't want me around, it was the betrayal that came with it. I'd always thought that family meant something. It was the glue that held everything together. I worked hard all my life, raising my kids, teaching them right from wrong, and putting food on the table. But lately, all that seemed forgotten. The laughter that used to fill the house had faded. The respect I thought I earned was replaced with cold shoulders. It felt like I was invisible, a shadow of the man I once was. I wasn't just fading from their lives, I was being erased. The moment it hit me, though, the moment it all came crashing down, was when Lorraine, my daughter-in-law, told me to leave her bakery. I don't even know what I was expecting. After all, I had helped set that bakery up, watched it grow, put in hours of my life into making it a success. It was supposed to be a place where my legacy could live on, a place where I could pass on everything I'd built to my family. But that dream ended with a single command. "Get out, Tom," she said. Her words were sharp, cutting through me like a knife. I didn't even have time to defend myself. There was no chance to explain, to make sense of the accusations she hurled at me. The bakery was more than just a business. It was a part of me, a piece of who I had become after years of sacrifice. To see it now, turned against me, was like watching everything I had worked for being stolen away. Lorraine didn't just want me out of the bakery. She wanted me out of her life. And my son, he stood there silent, letting it happen. He didn't even try to stop her. Maybe he thought I deserved it. Maybe he didn't care enough to fight for me. Either way, I was being kicked out and nothing was going to change that. I could barely think. There was a rush of emotions, all fighting for space in my chest. Shock, anger, hurt, but most of all, confusion. How had it come to this? How had I gone from being the man who held the family together to the man they couldn't wait to get rid of? I wasn't angry at Lorraine. Well, maybe I was, but I was angrier at myself. How did I miss this? How did I fail to see what was happening under my own roof? The days that followed were a blur. I found myself wandering the streets with nothing but the clothes on my back, unsure of where to go or what to do. Everything I had worked for was gone. My home, my family, and my purpose were all slipping through my fingers. I felt like a ghost, lost in the world I once knew. But deep down, something told me this wasn't the end of my story. I had lived through too much to let this defeat me. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that Lorraine had given me a gift in her betrayal. It wasn't just about the bakery. It wasn't just about losing my place in my family. It was about me finally realizing that I had been overlooked for far too long. The family I had once built was now a shadow of what it had been. My son, my daughter-in-law, they were all so quick to move on without me. It was as if I had never mattered, but I wasn't going to let that define me. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning of something new. I thought back to when I was young, when things seemed so much simpler. I grew up in a neighborhood where everything was hard: segregation, poverty, and constant struggles. But through it all, my family stood by me. My mother, my father, they worked hard to keep us together. They taught me that no matter how hard things got, you never gave up. That's something that stuck with me my whole life. Even when the world tried to tear me down, I got back up. And I was damn sure I wake up early, earlier than usual. The sun is barely peeking through the blinds, casting a thin, slanted beam across the floor. I don't get up right away. I sit there staring at the ceiling, trying to put the pieces together. My mind's still foggy from the shock of it all. I'm still processing the fact that I'm no longer a part of the life I built. My own family has discarded me, a stranger in my own home, a shadow in my own bakery. And for the first time in a long while, I don't feel that familiar burden of responsibility weighing me down. But there's a bitterness there, a deep bitterness that lingers just beneath the surface. The sting of being rejected, tossed aside like a piece of garbage, it doesn't go away easily. It gnaws at me, biting me from the inside. But I won't let it break me. My family, was supposed to be everything. They were the reason I woke up every day and worked my fingers to the bone. Every sacrifice I made, every hour spent building something solid, it was all for them. For my son, for his wife, for my grandchildren. I believed in that family bond. I still do. But when Lorraine, my daughter-in-law, told me to leave, I realized that belief wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to make them see me for who I was. It wasn't enough to make them care. I think about that moment a lot, when Lorraine stood there in that bakery, telling me to get out. The words came out sharp, cold, with no hesitation. "I don't want you here, Tom." It wasn't just the words that hit me, it was the tone, the disdain in her voice. My own flesh and blood. They were the ones I'd supported, helped, and this is how I'm repaid. But I'm not going to let it destroy me. I don't have the luxury of giving up, not now. I may be hurt, but I'm not broken. I'm walking through the streets of this new town now, looking for a way to rebuild. It's strange being here, in this unfamiliar place, but I don't mind it. The unfamiliar feels safer somehow. Safer than that bakery, than my family. I'm not lost, not yet. I can still feel the weight of what I've been through, but there's a new sense of purpose forming. I won't just sit around. I won't let their rejection be the final word on my life. For the first time in years, I think about my future, and I realize it's mine to shape. I arrive at Dot Carter's Bread and Coffee, a little family-run bakery tucked in a quiet part of town. The couple who owns it, Ray and Mabel, offer me a job right off the bat. No questions asked, no judgment. For the first time in a long time, I feel something resembling peace. Maybe this isn't so bad after all, but working here isn't just about making a paycheck. It's about finding a sense of purpose again. Kneading dough, making coffee, seeing people smile, it feels good. I'm doing something with my hands, something real. For so long, I worked for my family, giving them everything I had, but here, I'm doing this for me. And that feels good. I still think about the bakery back home. I think about the long hours I spent there, building it up, making it a place where people felt welcome, a place where I could leave a legacy. It's hard not to. I built that place from the ground up, and now it's in my son's hands, in Lorraine's hands. It's not just a business. It's my blood, sweat, and tears. But they don't see that. They don't see me. Then one afternoon, a letter arrives. It's from a lawyer, from Lorraine. The bakery's rent is going up, again, and it's threatening to shut the whole place down. A part of me wants to throw the letter away, pretend I never saw it. But I can't. This isn't just about rent. It's about how little they care. It's about how they've taken everything I've worked for and thrown it away. But this time, I'm not just going to let it go. This is the last straw. I sit there, staring at the letter. My hands are shaking, not from fear, but from the anger building inside me. I'm done being passive. I'm done waiting for permission to live. This is my life, and I'll be damned if I let them take it from me. The next few days pass in a blur. I don't talk much to anyone, just quietly doing my work at the bakery. But inside, I'm preparing. I'm planning. I know that I have to fight. I won't just let this go. I start researching the zoning laws, learning everything I can about rent control, legal protections for business owners. I sit at the small wooden table in the room above the bakery. The morning light struggles to push through the narrow window, but it's enough to see the legal letter from Lorraine's lawyer on the table in front of me. The weight of it presses down on my chest like a stone. I knew this day would come. The fight for my dignity, my right to stand as a man, not a pawn, had to begin somewhere. But I wasn't prepared for how heavy it would feel. My hands tremble slightly as I trace the words in the letter with my fingertips. Increase in rent. Legal action will follow. It's not just about money. It's about them trying to take what little I have left. It's them telling me that my time, my effort, my sacrifices mean nothing. But what they don't realize is that it's not just about the bakery. It's about everything I've been through, everything I've built, everything I've lost. It's about me reclaiming my place in this world. I take a deep breath and sit back in the chair. My mind is quiet, but not in the way I expected. It's not filled with anger. No, it's something else. It's a calm resolve, as cold as ice. They think they can push me aside like I'm nothing. But they're wrong. I've been pushed down before. I've been knocked around by life, by people, by systems that don't care about me or anyone like me. But I've always come back. And I'm not going to stop now. Not for them, not for anyone. I've spent my whole life fighting for a place in this world, a place that I thought I earned. Family, work, community. But now, as I sit in this small room, I realize that I've been fighting the wrong fight. It's not about them accepting me. It's about me accepting myself. And for the first time, I'm ready to fight for me. Not for Lorraine, not for Brian, not for anyone but myself. I reach for the stack of papers on the table, receipts, bank statements, anything I can use to build my case. I didn't just work for this bakery. I built it. Every brick, every dollar, every ounce of sweat, it's all mine. They want to take it from me. Fine. But I'm not going down without a fight. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what it costs. I'm going to make them see what I'm worth. I start organizing the documents, putting them in order. It's not much, but it's a start. I'm going to take them down, piece by piece. They think they can just raise the rent and force me out, but there are rules, there are laws, and I'm going to use them. The phone rings, and I don't need to look to know it's my lawyer. I've already made the call. He's hesitant, but he's willing to listen. I pick up the phone. Mr. Tom, I received your message. The landlord's case is strong. We'll need more than what you've got to make a dent, but I'll take a look at it. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. The words he says aren't promising, but they're not discouraging either. There's a crack in this system, and I'm going to find it. Thank you, I say. I'll have more for you soon. The legal jargon is a lot. It's a maze of terms and rules that mean nothing to me, not in the way they should. But I don't back down. Not now. I've been down before, but I'm not staying down. I get to work, sorting through every paper, looking for anything that will help. Every piece of evidence is another step closer to the truth. Every receipt is a testament to my work, to my sacrifice. Lorraine and Brian might think they can just erase that, but they're wrong. They don't get to erase me. I spend the next few days learning the ropes of the legal system. I don't like it. It's cold, sterile, and full of people who don't care about me, about my story. But I'm learning. I'm figuring it out. The system is not my friend, but it's mine to use. And I will use it. Then, one afternoon, a familiar face shows up. It's someone from the community, someone who remembers the old days when I was part of the heart of this town. They stop by the bakery to talk, and before long, they're offering their help. Legal advice, yes, but more than that, support. I didn't expect it. In this fight, I thought I was alone, but this person, a stranger until now, has become an ally. They can't do this to you, Tom, they say, with a determination in their voice that matches my own. You've been here for years, built this place up from nothing. They don't have the right. I don't know what to say. I'm grateful, sure. But more than that, I feel something else. Hope. It's a flicker, a spark, but it's there. Maybe the world isn't as cold as I thought. Maybe there are still people who care, who see me for what I am. But just as soon as that hope rises, it's shattered by the sound of my phone buzzing. It's a voicemail from Brian. I hesitate before I listen to it, knowing it's not going to be good. Tom, I need you to stop this. Stop it for the family. This is tearing us apart and I can't take it. Just leave it alone, please. The words hit me harder than they should. I thought for a moment that Brian might be different, that maybe he would understand, but no, he's just like Lorraine, just like the rest of them. All they care about is their own comfort. They don't care about me. They never did. I listened to the voicemail again, but this time, I don't feel the weight of guilt. Instead, there's something else, a cold, calm clarity. Brian wants me to stop fighting, to stop standing up for myself. He wants me to stay in my place, but I'm not going to stay in my place. I'm not going to keep fighting for their approval. This battle is for me, and I'm not stopping. I don't call him back. I don't need to. I'm done waiting for their validation. I've spent my whole life chasing after it, and where has it gotten me? Nowhere. I'm taking control now. And that starts with the next step, filing the legal paperwork. I have the evidence, I have the support, I have the will. I stand outside the courthouse, the weight of the battle ahead pressing on my chest like a storm cloud. My hands, weathered by years of work, clutch the papers I've carried with me for what feels like days. The cool air nips at my skin, but it doesn't chill the fire burning inside me. This is no longer just about the bakery. It's about my dignity, about proving to myself and to the world that I'm worth something, that I matter. I look up at the building before me. It looms over me, a symbol of power and bureaucracy. And for a second, I wonder how I got here. The years spent building something that should have been mine. The years of sacrifice, how easily it all could be lost. But I'm not giving up. Not now, not ever. Inside, it's quiet. Too quiet. I walk through the hallways, feeling every step echo in my chest. The weight of it all, of Lorraine's betrayal, of Brian's silence, hangs heavy. But I'm here for one reason, to take my life back. And I won't let anyone stop me. And not Lorraine, not the system, not even my own family. I think about the call from Brian just a few days ago. He's still not on my side. He wants me to stop this, to let it go. But I'm done letting people tell me what to do. I'm done being a footnote in their lives. I fought too long to let it all slip away. I walk into the courtroom with a new kind of resolve. The lawyer is there, looking over the documents with a grim expression. He doesn't look up when I sit across from him, but I know he's thinking the same thing I am. This isn't going to be easy. Lorraine's team is ruthless, but I'm ready. The case begins. I sit still, focusing on the words flying back and forth. I don't know much about legal jargon, but I understand when they're trying to pull the wool over my eyes. They talk about the rent increase, about how it's justified, about how I don't have a leg to stand on. But I know better. They've underestimated me. They've underestimated the years I've put into this fight. And then, a moment of clarity strikes. In the middle of all the legal talk, I spot something. A hidden clause in the lease agreement. It's small, buried deep in the fine print, but it's there. Lorraine can change the terms of the rental agreement at will, the very thing that's been used to try to crush me. I feel a surge of anger. This isn't just a case about money or property. This is about power, control. They've been using their money and influence to keep me down, to erase me, but I've got the proof now. This is the crack in their armor, the weakness I need to expose. I leave the courtroom with a new fire in my chest. The weight of the case still looms, but I'm not afraid anymore. I've got something they can't take away, the truth, and I'm going to use it. Later that evening, I get a call from someone I didn't expect, a member of the community. Someone who remembers the old days, when I was a part of this town, when I was someone. They offer me advice, legal advice, and more importantly, they offer me their support. It's a small gesture, but it means everything. For the first time in a long while, I feel like I'm not alone in this fight. But just as quickly as that support arrives, the weight of my own family's betrayal crashes down on me again. My son Brian calls. He's upset, he's angry, and once again, it's all my fault. At least that's how he sees it. You've destroyed everything, Dad. Why can't you just let it go? You're tearing the family apart. His words sting, but they also solidify something deep inside me. This isn't just about the bakery. It's about proving to myself, to everyone, that I'm worth more than the scraps they've thrown me. I refuse to let them drag me back into their comfortable little world where I'm nothing more than a tool to be used. I won't settle for that anymore. I hang up the phone, and for a moment, I let the silence wash over me. I can feel the weight of the decision pressing on me. I don't want to fight with my son, but I've come too far to turn back now. He's not the man I thought he was. Not anymore. The next day, I'm sitting in my office above the bakery, reviewing the documents again. I've got the evidence, I've got the support, and now it's time to take the next step. I'm not just fighting Lorraine anymore. I'm fighting for everything I've lost. For my legacy, for my name, for my dignity. Mabel comes to visit later that afternoon. She sits across from me, her face is kind as always, but there's something different in her eyes. She's been watching me, seeing the way I've changed, and she knows what I need. I know it's not easy, Tom, she says, her voice soft but firm, but I believe in you, and I'm here to help. I'll lend you the money for the legal fees. You don't have to do this alone. I'm shocked. I never expected this kind of help. I don't know what to say. I've been on my own for so long, and now, here she is offering me everything. I can't help but feel a lump in my throat. Thank you, Mabel, I say, my voice thick with emotion. I won't let you down. It's a small thing, but it feels like a turning point. The sun was beginning to set as I stood in the doorway of my bakery, staring out at the world that had suddenly become a battlefield. Every corner of this place, every piece of wood, and every brick had my blood and sweat in it. This was my life, my legacy. Yet, it felt like the walls were closing in. The legal battle with Lorraine had gone from a simple business dispute to something far more personal. It wasn't just about the bakery anymore. No, this was about my place in the world, about my right to exist as more than just a shadow in my family's life. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. There had been too much fighting already. Too many years spent trying to prove myself. But no more. Not now. The time for survival was over. This was about reclaiming who I was, showing them all that I wasn't going to roll over. I wasn't the weak old man they thought I had become. I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I thought back to all those years. Raising my kids, working day and night to give them everything they needed, trying to be the rock they could rely on. I put my family above everything else. But here I was on the verge of losing it all because they didn't see me anymore, because they decided I wasn't worth fighting for. But maybe that's what I had been missing, fighting for myself, fighting for what I built. That's when the knock on the door interrupted my thoughts. Mr. Tom? The voice was familiar, but I couldn't place it at first. I opened the door, and standing there was someone I hadn't seen in years. Daryl, an old friend of mine. He used to be close with my family, back when we were all still one unit, back before Lorraine came into the picture. Tom, he said, stepping inside without waiting for permission. I heard what's been going on. You're gonna need this. He handed me an envelope, and I took it without thinking. As I opened it, my eyes skimmed the contents, a series of documents. A couple of pages of legalese, but there was something that stood out. Daryl had information that could turn the tide in this legal battle. I looked up at him, surprised. Where did you get this? I've got my sources, Daryl said, shrugging. I didn't want to get involved, but I can't stand by and watch what's happening to you. You deserve better, Tom. I know how it feels to be cast aside, and I think I've got what you need to make them listen. He didn't say much more, but I didn't need him to. I could feel the weight of what he was offering. This could change everything. It could be the game changer I had been waiting for. But I wasn't ready to trust anyone, least of all my own family. They'd already proven what they thought of me. I wasn't going to be anyone's pawn again. Still, I couldn't deny the urgency in Daryl's voice. He was right. I needed this. I needed to fight with everything I had, even if it meant relying on the people who had once been part of my life. The next few days passed in a blur. I started piecing together the information from Daryl with what I had already learned about the legal system. My lawyer, a man named Greg, seemed skeptical at first, but when I showed him the documents, his face lit up. This is it, he said, leaning forward. This is the crack in Lorraine's armor. The documents exposed a hidden clause in the lease agreement, one that allowed Lorraine to change the terms of the rental at will. It was illegal, it was manipulative, and it was the key to breaking the case wide open. But even with this new information, the pressure was building. My family was still reeling from the fallout of my decision to fight. Brian, my son, had been quiet for the past week, but I knew something was coming. I wasn't prepared for the knock that came one evening, though. I opened the door to find him standing there, eyes downcast. Dad, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, we need to talk. About what? I asked, crossing my arms. I wasn't in the mood for another one of his lectures about family loyalty. He stepped inside, his posture stiff. About the case. About everything. He took a deep breath. I can't stand to see what this is doing to Mom. To all of us. You're ruining everything. You need to stop. The words hit me like a slap. I hadn't expected much, but hearing him say that, it stung. I knew what he was saying, but what he didn't understand was that this wasn't just about the bakery anymore. This was about my life, my dignity. I'm not the one ruining everything, Brian, I said, my voice steady, though it took all I had to keep it that way. You think you're protecting your mother, but you're just standing by and letting her walk all over me. The rain was coming down in sheets, blurring the world outside my bakery window. I stood there watching it, my mind heavy with the weight of everything that had happened. Every drop on the glass seemed to echo the burden I was carrying. Today felt different, though. Today, I wasn't just the man who had been beaten down by life. Today, I was the man ready to stand tall, no matter what it took. It had been a long, hard road to get here. For years, I let my family's expectations guide me, even as I silently endured the betrayals they didn't even recognize. But not anymore. The fight I had been avoiding, the one that scared me and made me feel like I was losing everything, was no longer something I feared. I was done waiting for their approval. I was done living for others. This was my moment. I felt a flicker of doubt, though. The settlement offer from Lorraine still lingered in my mind. It was tempting. It could solve everything. A part of me just wanted the whole damn mess to end, but I knew I couldn't take it. Not when I'd already come this far. It wasn't just about the bakery anymore. It wasn't even just about the fight. It was about my pride, my dignity, my right to stand tall in the face of everything they'd thrown at me. The thought of giving up on all that haunted me as I turned back to the counter, wiping it down mechanically. My phone buzzed, pulling me from my thoughts. I glanced at the screen, half expecting a message from Lorraine or her lawyer. But when I saw who it was, a sharp pang of disappointment hit me in the chest. It was Brian. I didn't even need to read the message to know what it was. Dad, we need to talk. Same old thing. I could almost hear his voice pleading with me, trying to get me to walk away from the case and from the bakery. He had no idea what I'd been through. He never did. Not really. Still, I couldn't ignore it. I put the phone down and grabbed my coat. I wasn't running from this. I wasn't hiding from him. If he wanted to have this conversation, then it was time we talked face to face. When I opened the door to the bakery, Brian stood there looking like a ghost of the man I used to know. His shoulders were slumped, and there was a heaviness in his eyes that made my chest tighten. He wasn't here just to talk. He was here to plead, to beg me to let go. Dad, he began, stepping inside without waiting for permission. Please, just stop this. You're making things worse. The whole family is falling apart, and you're not helping anyone by holding on to this. Let it go. It's not worth it. I didn't say anything right away. I couldn't. His words, the same ones I'd heard 1,000 times from Lorraine, stung in a way I wasn't prepared for. I had spent so many years trying to make my family see me, trying to prove I wasn't just some old man in the way. But they could. The silence in the bakery was almost deafening as I stood by the window watching the rain fall in torrents. The world outside felt distant, as though I were observing it from another place, another time. Inside, the weight of the moment pressed down on me, heavier than I had ever imagined. This was it, the point of no return. Today, I wasn't just fighting for the bakery. This fight was for something much bigger. It was for my pride, my dignity, and for everything I had worked for over the years. I could feel the tension building within me, the kind that settles in your chest like a cold, tight knot. It had been weeks of endless decisions, back and forth confrontations, and the feeling of betrayal that I couldn't shake off. But this time, the decision before me wasn't just about right or wrong. It was about everything I had ever believed in, everything I had sacrificed. Lorraine had already made her move. She was ruthless, but now the pieces on the board were different. I had the upper hand, but I also knew this would cost me. It would cost me my family, possibly my reputation, but more than anything, it would cost me the life I had fought for. As the rain continued to pour, I felt torn. The settlement offer from Lorraine still hung over me like a shadow. A quiet life, away from the fighting and the anger, sounded tempting. But could I live with myself knowing I had given up? Could I let her win? My thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. I hesitated for a moment before opening it, and there stood my daughter, Keisha. Her face was a mixture of worry and urgency. I hadn't expected her, but she walked in like she had every right to be there, like we hadn't been at odds for months. Dad, we need to talk, she said, her voice soft but firm. It's about Lorraine. I nodded, stepping aside to let her in. I could see the concern in her eyes, but there was also a hint of something else, something I couldn't quite place. Maybe it was fear, or maybe it was the sense that she knew how far this fight had pushed me. I know this is hard, she continued, sitting down at the counter, but you've got to let it go. This whole thing, it's ruining everything. Lorraine's cutting ties with the family business. You'll lose everything you've worked for if you don't stop now. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I could feel my heart racing, the familiar sting of betrayal creeping back in. Was this it? Was I really about to lose everything for something that might not even be worth fighting for? I looked at her, the daughter I had raised, and all the memories of her growing up flooded my mind. She had been the light in my life, but now I could see that the divide between us was wider than ever. She was asking me to surrender, to give up my fight. But how could I? How could I turn my back on everything I had worked for, everything I had built? Keisha, this isn't just about business, I finally said, my voice heavy with emotion. This is about respect. This is about not letting her destroy everything I've worked for all my life. You don't get it, not like I do. This isn't just a damn bakery. It's my life. It's my legacy. She shook her head, tears welling up in her eyes. Dad, I know you're hurting, but this fight isn't worth losing the family over. Please, think about the future. Think about what you'll have left if you win this. Will it be worth it? Her words cut deep, and for a moment I felt the weight of it all, my family torn apart by my stubbornness. But something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to let Lorraine win. I wasn't going to back down just to keep the peace. I've thought about it, I said, my voice growing steadier, and I'm not letting her get away with this. Not anymore. I'm fighting for me, Keisha. Not for them. For me. She didn't respond right away. She just stood there looking at me with a mixture of sadness and frustration. I knew what she wanted, but I also knew that this battle wasn't just mine anymore. It was about standing up for everything I had ever believed in. As Keisha left, I felt a weight settle in my chest. I was losing her, and it hurt more than I'd ever let on. But I knew what I had to do. Lorraine wasn't going to stop. I stood alone in the quiet of the bakery, the familiar hum of the oven, the only sound in the otherwise still air. The past few weeks had been nothing short of a storm, each day filled with chaos and escalating attacks from Lorraine. My mind was heavy with everything that had led up to this moment. I could feel the weight of it all in my bones. Today was the day, the final confrontation, and there was no turning back. Lorraine had been relentless, pushing me into a corner where every move felt like a matter of survival. But now it was different. I wasn't just fighting for a business. I was fighting for everything that mattered to me, my pride, my dignity, and my place in the world. I wasn't about to back down, not this time. Just before I made my move, as I was gathering my thoughts, the phone rang. It was my lawyer. His voice, usually steady, cracked with tension. Tom, we've got a problem. Lorraine, she's uncovered something from your past, something you thought was long buried. She's using it against you. My stomach sank. The weight of his words hit me harder than anything I'd heard before. I'd always known Lorraine was capable of underhanded tactics, but this was a different level. I thought I had buried all the skeletons long ago, but she had found a way to unearth them. This final confrontation, this fight I'd been preparing for, could now destroy everything I'd worked so hard to protect. The bakery, my family, my reputation, all of it hung in the balance. The call ended, and I stood there frozen for a moment. I could feel the cold sweat on my back, the pressure building inside me. Lorraine had always played dirty, but now it seemed like she had a weapon that could take me down for good. Was it worth it? Was the fight worth the destruction it might bring? I didn't have a choice. I couldn't back down now. The time for silence was over. I had to face Lorraine head on, no matter the cost. I couldn't let her tear everything apart, not when I had come so far. That afternoon, I gathered my closest allies, Keisha, Brian, and a few loyal friends from the old neighborhood. We met in the back of the bakery, the same place where we had shared countless memories over the years. This was different, though. This wasn't just about the bakery anymore. It was about standing up for what was right. We have to do this, I said, my voice steady but filled with a quiet intensity. We've got to fight back. This isn't just about keeping the bakery, it's about showing her that she can't control me, that she can't control us. Brian, as always, was ready for the fight. I'm with you, Pop. We've been through hell together. This is no different. She's playing dirty, but we're not backing down. Keisha, on the other hand, looked torn. Dad, this is getting out of hand. I get that Lorraine's been unfair, but is this really the best way? We're already losing so much. I knew her heart was in the right place. She was the one trying to hold everything together, but I couldn't afford to let that stop me now. Keisha, I said softly, this isn't just about us anymore. This is about stopping her from tearing everything down. I've lost too much already. I'm not losing anymore. Just as the conversation grew heavier, a surprising voice interrupted. An old colleague of Lorraine's, someone I hadn't seen in years, stepped into the bakery. I have something you might want to hear, he said, his voice low. Something that could turn this whole thing around. I looked at him, unsure of what to expect, but desperate for any advantage. He handed me a file, and inside, I found the key I needed. Lorraine's manipulation of the legal system, her attempts to control not just the bakery, but everyone involved, were documented here. This was a game changer. I felt a sense of power surge through me. Finally, something to use against her. Finally, a chance to flip the script. But even with this new weapon in hand, the stakes were higher than ever. Lorraine wasn't going to back down without a fight, and I could feel the pressure mounting. Keisha and Brian were still at odds. Keisha wanted me to back off, to take the high road, while Brian was ready to fight dirty. The tension between them was palpable, and it tore at me. I can't lose you too, I said to Keisha, my voice heavy with the weight of the decision I was about to make. But I can't walk away from this fight, not now, not after everything. Her face softened for a moment, but the pain in her eyes was still there. I don't want you to lose everything, Dad. I just want you to think about what's really important. I'm thinking about it, I said. But sometimes standing up for what's right means losing a little to gain a lot. As the day of the public showdown approached, the pressure grew unbearable. Lorraine had already called a press conference, framing me as the villain, the one who had been unethical all along. She used an old argument I had with an employee, a moment I regretted, a moment I wished I could take back, and twisted it into an accusation of dishonesty. The media gathered, and the tension in the room was thick, like a storm waiting to break. But I wasn't about to let her win. Not this time. I stepped up to the podium, the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I spoke the truth. I may have made mistakes, I said, my voice clear, but I've always done what I believed was right. And for too long, I've let others dictate my life, no more. Just as I thought I had control of the room, Lorraine pulled a fast one. She presented a video, a heavily edited version of that argument from years ago. She played it for everyone, twisting my words and framing me as the villain. The room shifted, the crowd divided. Some believed me, but many were swayed by Lorraine's manipulation. My heart raced, and for a moment I thought I was losing, but I wasn't going to let her win. I took a deep breath, gathered my strength, and countered. That video doesn't tell the whole story. You want to talk about manipulation? Let me show you how Lorraine has been manipulating everything for years. The room went silent. I told them everything, the lengths she had gone to destroy me, to destroy the bakery, to destroy the people who trusted her. I exposed her lies, her deceit, and for the first time in a long time, I felt the weight of it all lifting. The crowd shifted. The tide was turning. Lorraine, realizing she was losing, tried to salvage her reputation, but it was too late. My allies rallied behind me, and the press began to turn in my favor. But there was still one final choice to make. I stood there, watching the fallout from my actions. Lorraine's last move had been a doozy, and she had tried to threaten me with a settlement that would secure my business. I stood in front of the bakery, watching the world go by. The hustle and bustle of the city around me seemed to move in slow motion. People walking down the street, cars passing by, the everyday noise of life, yet it all felt distant. The fight was over. The battle I'd fought for so long had come to an end, but the wounds were still fresh. Despite everything, despite the victory, there was a hollow feeling deep inside me. It didn't feel like a win. It felt like I'd just survived. I took a deep breath, trying to absorb the peace of the moment, but it was fleeting. Every step I'd taken, every fight I'd won had come at a cost. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to pay any more. The phone rang, pulling me out of my thoughts. It was my lawyer. His voice was calm, but there was something underneath it, something unsettling. "Tom, Lorraine's made her move," he said, each word like a hammer falling. She's filing a countersuit. This battle isn't over. I felt the air leave my lungs. It didn't matter how many battles I'd won. This one was far from finished. Lorraine was still out there pulling strings, trying to tear everything down. I had expected some kind of retaliation, but the weight of it hit me all the same. All my hard work, everything I'd done to get to this point, it felt like it was slipping through my fingers. The weight of the legal battle pressed down on me like a mountain. I could feel the familiar tension tightening in my chest, but I couldn't let it break me. I couldn't afford to let it. My family was watching. I had already come this far. There was no turning back. I had spent my life trying to build something worth fighting for, something that meant more than just money or success. It was my pride, my legacy, and I wasn't about to let Lorraine take it from me. Not now, not after everything. So I made my decision. I wasn't done yet. Even if this last fight was harder than anything I'd faced, I couldn't let it defeat me. The stakes were higher now, and I had more to lose than ever before. But I couldn't let my past mistakes define me. I had to keep moving forward. The next day, I met with my lawyer again. We needed a strategy. This was the final showdown, and I couldn't afford any mistakes. As we talked through the details of the countersuit, I felt the weight of the situation settle over me like a heavy coat. This wasn't just about business anymore. It was about my legacy, about my future. And I couldn't afford to lose it. But then, just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I uncovered a troubling truth. A friend of mine, someone who had been helping me through the legal battle, had played a small but significant role in the mistakes of my past. They had been involved in the very things that Lorraine was now using against me. I sat back in my chair, the news sinking in. This wasn't just a fight against Lorraine anymore. It was a battle against my own conscience. I had to decide whether to take the high road or play the game the way Lorraine had. Could I win this battle without compromising my morals? The thought weighed on me, heavy like a rock in my chest. I could feel the pull in both directions. I had to decide what kind of man I wanted to be. Did I want to win, even if it meant stepping into the mud with Lorraine, or did I want to lose with honor? As I reflected on my actions, I realized something. This fight wasn't just for me. It was for my children and my grandchildren, for the future generations who would look back on the choices I made. I couldn't let my mistakes define me. I couldn't let them define my family's legacy. The day of the final hearing arrived. The courtroom was packed with people, lawyers, witnesses, the media. Lorraine had pulled out all the stops, bringing in high-powered lawyers, witnesses who could paint me as a villain, and the media to spin her story. I was up against a giant, and as I sat there waiting for my turn to speak, I felt like I was fighting not just for the bakery, but for everything I had ever built. Then, Lorraine's lawyer dropped a bombshell. He presented a piece of evidence that I had never expected. An old personal journal of mine, filled with regrets, struggles, and mistakes from my past. Lorraine used it to paint me as a hypocrite, someone who wasn't as noble as I had pretended to be. She twisted my words, using my own past to accuse me of everything I had worked so hard to rise above. The tension in the courtroom reached a boiling point. Lorraine's words cut deep, and for a moment I wondered if I had lost. But I couldn't let her win. Not now, not when everything was on the line. I had to fight back.